Welcome to You Should Know, a series about the things you should have been taught in high school, but weren't. In each episode, we'll dive into a topic that's important to understand and easy to implement into your life. We'll talk to experts, break down complex ideas, and give you the information that you need to make informed decisions. So whether you're looking to learn something new or just want to stay up to date on the latest news, You Should Know is the place for you. So give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and let's get started. All right, we're going to get started. I'm Danae Hicks with the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. I serve as Ellis County's Family Community Health Agent. And today we have a repeat guest. We have Megan back. She is going to talk about spring and summer car seat safety so we can all be extra safe in the car while things start warming up. So Megan, do you want to reintroduce yourself to people that may not know you?
Sure, thank you. Yes, my name is Megan Hackworth, and I am one of the program coordinators with the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Passenger Safety and KidSafe Initiatives program. I am a car seat technician instructor, which means that I have extra training in car seats and that I actually get to help teach the trainings when we train new car seat technicians. So it's a really fun thing to get to do. I'm also a mom of 5. I have been a mom since 2010 when my oldest was born, and I'm a big car seat nerd. So when my oldest was born, I'm the kind of person who likes to do things right. So I remember reading through the manual, trying to do all the things, learning all the things. And then when I became aware that such thing as a car seat technician existed, I went and had my car seats checked, and I said, "Oh, you're not going to find any problems. I do everything just right." And they actually found something wrong with all 3 of the children I had at the time. Each one of them, I was doing something wrong. So someone who is trying their best and thinks they know may not actually know everything. And that's part of what's fun about what I do, is that we're always learning, we're always gaining new knowledge, and we're able to share that knowledge with other people. So that's a little bit about who I am and what I do.
Perfect. Viewers probably don't know this, but Megan was actually one of the trainers that trained me when I became a CPST, and they turned me into a giant car seat nerd, just like Megan. So, that's part of the reason why this gets highlighted fairly frequently on this channel, just because the rate of misuse is really high, and our whole job is to keep those kiddos as safe as possible on the road. So, you're going to see a lot of car seat stuff. And it's just for knowledge, and it's just to make sure that you have the opportunity to keep your kid as safe as possible. We're going to kick off our first question with, how do summer temperatures affect car seat safety for children?
Well, of course, as we are losing the layers, we are going to be wearing the lighter weight clothing. And like we talked about with adding bulk with the winter jackets, even just small adjustments in the amount of clothing that your child is wearing could actually affect the harnessing. So I always recommend for parents, don't try to just keep your child's car seat harness at one fixed spot. Loosen it and retighten it every single time, because even minor adjustments in the amount of clothing they're wearing can be an issue. Children may be losing layers during the summer, perhaps wearing a tank top, or sometimes the baby just goes in with a diaper alone because we're trying to really not overheat them. Parents might be concerned about the car seat straps cutting into their skin or their neck. With proper harnessing that's snug enough that it's going to do the job, they may say, "Oh, well, this is not good. It's cutting into their neck." And then they're tempted to add in extra products, such as those strap covers that you can just buy off any regular website or Walmart or wherever. Those products, if they're not made by the car seat manufacturer to be used with that specific car seat, may be unsafe to use. So we advise always against using any what we would call a non-approved product. An approved product would be one that the car seat manufacturer has crash tested with their car seat, and we know that it will not have any negative effects as far as, well, there could be a lot of potential outcomes. They may be too slippery. They may not have the same flame retardant capacity. They may be too long and push the chest clip down. So there's any number of ways that adding an extra product to your car seat could make it unsafe. So it's better just to stick with the products that your manufacturer has said are intended for use with this particular car seat. Now, one other thing that I want to mention is with the heat starting to come on, and of course in Texas, the heat is intense, parents worry about their child overheating. And so they want to add sunshades to the windows of the car. Some sunshades are just fine, others may not be safe. I would caution against using any type of sunshade that suction cups to the window and has the big metal bar or big heavy plastic bar and the shade rolls up and down, because that is a potential projectile. Anything that is not securely attached in the vehicle in the event of a crash or a sudden stop could come flying at your child. And you may think, oh, that's not a big deal, it's not that heavy. Well, here's a way to test if you think something is safe to have near your child in the event of a potential crash. Have a friend stand about 2 or 3 feet away from you and throw it at your face. Yeah, if you don't like that idea, then maybe it shouldn't be right near your child in the car.
I
Or
love
just whack
that.
yourself in the face with it if you don't have any friends. That's fine too. But if you're not okay with that, then maybe rethink placing that near your child in the car, because it could become dislodged in a crash. Chances are it will. And we want to eliminate all potential projectile risks. So a safer option instead of that type of a sunshade would be a static cling kind that you just place over the window and static cling. Or just have your windows professionally tinted. It's getting a lot more reasonably priced these days. And I've even seen some that's like a little mesh cover that goes across the windshield or across the window. So there's a lot of different options that are much safer and don't add a projectile risk that I would recommend for that. Now, especially for rear facing kids, if you don't have good air circulation in the car, that's another big concern that parents have as far as, are they getting the airflow that they need? So many parents are likely to put up a fan or something like that, and that is another potential projectile risk. So I'm sorry I'm like ruining all your ideas that you had for keeping your child cool in the car. But there's one product that I know of that's recommended by car seat technicians. It's called Noggle or something like that. It's basically like a tube that attaches to the front air vent of your car and comes around. It's a flexible tube, comes around and points that airflow to your child. That's the only thing that I know of that's considered like an approved product for, and it's not technically an approved product, but most car seat technicians are going to be comfortable with that being in your car, because we get it. It's hot. Not all cars have great circulation. Mine is one of those that the AC is not good. And I feel sorry for anyone riding in the back seat of my car. Um, so I get it. You want to protect those babies and you don't want them to overheat. Just make sure you're doing it as safely as you can.
Yeah, I want to hop back to one thing you said. You talked about not using products in the car seat that aren't approved by your car seat manufacturer. So if someone wants to, they have like a Graco seat or safety first seat or something like that, where could they go to find out if there are products from that company that are approved?
I would say the easiest way would be to go either to that manufacturer's website or just call up their 1-800 number and ask to talk to one of their representatives, because they're going to be able to look up that specific seat and tell you which products are available, or on the website you can search. But you want to make sure you're getting that product directly from the manufacturer to be sure that it complies.
Perfect. So we talked about the heat already. You talked about how cars, some of them don't have the ventilation and the airflow that we would love. We used a Noggle with our first one, and I loved it because I had an Impala and the airflow was not great. And it worked. There were times where she would like kick it out of her seat because she would get too chilly.
That's
So
funny.
they're great. How would you recommend people protect their kids' skin in the car seat? So you talked about like babies maybe going in and just a diaper so they don't get too hot. Some kids have like really sensitive skin up on their necks, and the webbing, the harness makes the like red marks, and the parents kind of get a little worried about that. So what tips and tricks do you have for that?
That's a great question. So yeah, if you are concerned about the straps cutting into the neck and affecting the skin, what I would suggest, well, if the baby's wearing clothes, just take that clothing and bring it right up in between. So perhaps a naked baby in a car seat isn't the best idea if you're super concerned about that strap cutting into their skin. But in reality, I would also just recommend you don't need to over tighten the straps. And what I would say to make sure you have a good harness fit, um, there's something called the reverse pinch test, where the pinch test is if you can pinch any amount of webbing, it's too loose. So what you can do is pinch that webbing and then pull the strap while your fingers are on the webbing, pull the strap until you can no longer pinch it. And then you know you're not going to be over tightening that seat, but it will be snug enough that it's protecting your child. So there is such thing as getting the car seat too tight, where that is going to be a problem and an issue, and you don't want to do that. You don't need to be crazy about, like, you don't want to suffocate your child and crazy stuff like that. But you do want to have it snug enough that it will offer the proper protection. Did that answer your questions?
Yeah, no, it did. A lot of times I'm in a lot of parent groups because I'm pregnant and I have a 3-year-old. So sometimes I just like to see if there are questions being asked that I should be asking. And there are a lot of people that get very concerned about like over tightening or under tightening or my kid's skin is red or anything like that. So I think it's just a really good point to kind of address that you don't have to over tighten it. Another
Yeah.
thing that can happen is like when you over tighten it, it's not comfortable. If y'all have ever
Mhm.
had like a seatbelt lock and then ratchet back in where you couldn't move, it's a lot like that for the kiddo. So we're trying to keep them as safe and as comfortable as possible in that
And
situation.
also, your child will give you cues as to whether or not they're uncomfortable. Now, some kids, if you've been riding with them way too loose, even a not too tight harness is going to be not okay with them because they're not used to that. So it may take a little bit of adjustment for them to realize, like, oh, and I like to change my terminology. They're like, it's too tight. And I say, no, it's nice and snug like a hug, or little things like that. The way we talk about it can help them kind of get used to the idea. If you realize, oh shoot, my car seat harness has been too loose, now I need to tighten it. Also need to realize that some people's skin is just going to show marks more than others, and it may not actually be that uncomfortable. For instance, a lot of times I wear hair tie around my wrist, and after a few hours of that, if I take it off, I notice a big red band around my wrist where that was. Was I super uncomfortable? Was that unsafe? No, it wasn't. But my skin is showing an indentation where this was affecting it. So just be smart with how you're interpreting cues and use the best judgment you have to get a properly tight harness. And if you need to put on an extra shirt so you can tuck it up under, go for it. Choose a lightweight one. Choose a swim shirt or something that's going to be breathable fabric. Um, but it's good to think about these things beforehand so you don't find yourself in the moment and then you're like, what do I do?
Yes, for sure. So we'll hop back in. We've talked about me being in all the car seat questions, Facebook pages, and all the mom pages and stuff like that. One question that I see a lot come up, especially spring and summer when we're starting to get out, be in the pools, hang out around pools and things. Do wet swimsuits affect car seat safety? A lot of the moms are very concerned that the chemicals in the water will be on the swimsuit and then it'll get in the car seat. Does that matter?
Okay, well, I would suggest always drying your child off. Towel dry them before you put them in the car seat. I'm not as concerned about the chemicals themselves because properly diluted, for a child to be safe swimming in that water, that shouldn't be enough to affect the car seat. I know that we tell people when you're washing the car seat, make sure you don't use harsh chemicals. So I get why that question is being asked, but if my kid can swim in it, it's probably not going to negatively affect my car seat. However, I don't want to soak my car seat so where it's super wet. I want it to be able to dry out naturally once my child gets out. And if they're dripping wet, that may not work so well. Make sure that you towel dry them well enough first. And then, yeah, they can go in their swimsuit. That's totally fine. I'm not concerned about that.
That's good. And I think a lot of parents will be kind of reassured by that. Because it ties in really well with our next question. You mentioned it a little bit, but we may be getting a little bit of a spring cleaning bug. We may be like, that car seat had a lot of snacks in it this winter, and I'm seeing goldfish in places that goldfish probably should not be. How do you suggest people clean the car seats?
Okay, funny thing, real quick. I don't know if you were like this, Danae, but before I had kids, I had all these grand ideas. If my child is never going to eat or drink in the car, we will just have that as a rule. Everybody's the best parent before they have kids. And then once you have kids, you start bending the rules a little bit. And then, okay, fine, just whatever it takes. Because
Yes,
before
100%.
you know it, the kids are eating all the things in the car, except some not things they can choke on. All the other
Yes.
things. So yeah, there's gonna be goldfish crumbs, there's gonna be juice spills, there's gonna be things like that. Well, and even just like little bitty ones, sometimes they're gonna have a diaper blowout or something, and you're gonna have to clean that car seat. So if you're not deep cleaning your car seat, and you just want to leave it installed in your car, you can vacuum up those crumbs, reach around the crevices. Some car seats will allow you to kind of remove the fabric covering a little bit, so you could even vacuum underneath that. You can wipe down that car seat with a damp cloth that's damp with water. That's including the straps, the covers, whatever parts. That is totally okay. Now, if you're wanting to go for a bit more of a deep clean and you're going to remove the car seat, I will tell you, do not listen to TikTok. They give really bad advice on how to clean car seats. I've seen people suggest taking it to the car wash and spraying it down there. I've seen people suggest soaking the whole car seat, cover and all, in their tub. Okay, these are bad ideas. Don't do that. Your car seat manual has instructions for how you need to clean your car seat. There's not a one size fits all rule that's okay for this, because they're made out of different materials. They come apart and go back together different. And so you need to go back to your car seat manufacturer to reference how to clean your car seat. Some of them you can machine wash, some of them you have to hand wash. In all cases, we want to make sure we're using a gentle, mild detergent, no harsh chemicals, like I mentioned before, probably no fabric softener, definitely no bleach. So we're wanting to be aware of that kind of thing. And the problem with those kind of chemicals is that a lot of the car seats have extra stuff built in for the flame retardant um, uh, requirement that they're trying to meet. So because they have those extra chemicals kind of built into the fabric of the seat, we don't want to strip them away with our cleaning. They have to stay there, or else the seat will not be flame retardant. We want that. That's a safety feature. So, and then another common mistake that people make with the car seats, out the straps and everything, and throw all of that in the wash. You are not allowed to submerge the straps. You are not allowed to submerge the straps on any car seat that I am aware of. On all of the car seats that I've ever seen, they say you can wipe them down with a damp cloth and maybe a mild detergent, but you should not submerge them. So watch out for that. And if you're watching this and you're saying, "Oh, I already did that. What do I do now?" Reach out to the car seat manufacturer, and they might be able to send you replacement straps. You don't necessarily have to chuck your whole car seat, especially if it's one of these really big, expensive ones, and you're like, "Oh shoot, did I just waste hundreds of dollars?" Probably not. Probably you can get replacement straps from the manufacturer. You just call them up and say, "Hey, this is what happened. I just learned it was a problem," and they can send you that replacement, and maybe get those strap covers while you're at it. I don't know. But anywho, no harsh chemicals. Don't submerge the things that shouldn't be submerged. Always, always, always go back to the manufacturer. Say you got your car seat and you tossed the manual because you didn't think that was going to be important later on. Or maybe you tried to keep it, but you forgot where it went. You've moved since then. Everything's gone crazy. You can usually find the manual online. So don't be afraid to search the internet. I would look for it from the direct manufacturer's website, because there's some other places out there. Um, if you just search for manual and you try to download stuff, it might download bad stuff on your computer. So just go straight to the manufacturer to get the manual, and you can have it on PDF form. And then that's also handy, because then if you download that to your phone, anytime you're ever out and about and you have a question about it, you can pull that up on your phone and use the search feature to find exactly what you need. But use that for cleaning. Another tip I've got all kinds of tips for cleaning.
We love
is
all the tips. It's okay.
is if you're another tip I have for cleaning is that if you are gonna take everything apart, um, before you do that, take some pictures of your car seat so you know how it goes back together. Because I will say it can be really confusing figuring out how to thread the straps on all the buckles and get it back together just the right way. It can be really confusing. So take some pictures, maybe even take a video of yourself as you undo it so you can kind of reverse engineer that to figure out how it goes back together, because some of these are more confusing than others. When you are putting it back together, here's another tip I've got, is that buckle all the buckles first and then thread the straps through them. I learned this the hard way. I figured this out because I was like undoing something 5 times to figure out what was the right way to do it. And then I discovered that if I just put all the buckles where they're supposed to be and thread the straps through, it's much easier to figure out. So that's something I learned the hard way. One other thing I wanted to mention is you were talking about crumbs, and sometimes those can get down into the mechanism that loosens and tightens the harness strap, or sometimes juice and it gets sticky in there and stuff like that. And people are having trouble adjusting the harness to be correctly tight, because there's gunk in there. So that is a tricky area. If it's juice, I would just say adjust it as you can and wipe that down with a damp cloth. If there's crumbs that are in there being a problem, usually you can use a can of air, like where it's like forced air or something, and spray that air into it to try to dislodge. A vacuum's always available too, but sometimes you have to actually use that forced air to get those crumbs out. And that can also sometimes not make it too difficult to adjust, but it can make it so where it stays open. I've seen it where kids have been able to loosen their harness on their own, because without having to push the button, because there was something lodged in there. So if your child is able to just loosen their harness straps and it's not staying tight, that would be my first thing to suggest going and looking at as far as troubleshooting.
Perfect. I was going to suggest taking a video. I saw it on one of the car seat safety pages on Instagram. She was like, take a video anytime you take that car seat apart so that whenever you're like, I don't remember where this piece goes, you can go find it in the video and know how to put it back together. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yay.
All right. What advice do you have for parents who are installing a seat for the first time? So this may be a new parent who's bringing home a little itty bitty, or it may be a parent who's graduating a kid to a new car seat. What advice do you have for them?
Okay. Always read the manual, front to back, backwards and forwards, even the warnings that you think I can skip past all this. Just if you need to, but look at the manual because it has a lot of important information that you need. Also, you should have your vehicle manual available, because it's not just a car seat, it's a car seat going into a car. And so whether we're looking at the seat belt of the vehicle or where are the lower anchor attachments, what about forward facing kit, and we have to use the top tether attachment, there's a lot of questions about that we're going to need to reference the vehicle manual for that information. And again, if you don't have your vehicle manual, you can usually find a PDF of that online as well. So always use the manuals. And it doesn't hurt to have a second set of eyes. So I recommend always, if you're even a little bit confused or unsure, or even if you're not and you just want the affirmation, call up a car seat technician and have them check it with you, have them walk through it with you. That's their job. Their job is not to install your car seat for you. Their job is to educate you so that you can confidently install your car seat every single time. So that's what a car seat technician should be doing. They should be coming alongside you, supporting you, answering any questions you have, and then making sure that you have what you need to install your car seat. Now, if, like you mentioned, changing a child from one car seat to another, um, this is a problem I made, is that I paid a lot of attention at the very beginning, and then I started paying less attention because I thought, I've got this. And so I wasn't reading the manual as closely. And the thing that I didn't realize is like, well, this car seat may be a little bit different than this other car seat, or things like that. So keep an eye on each individual car seat. There's different rules for forward facing and rear facing as far as where we place the straps as far as coming out of the car seat. They should be below the child's shoulders, or right at for rear facing. And then when we flip them around to forward facing in the car, they should be at or slightly above the child's shoulders. So various things like that you want to kind of keep an eye on and make sure that you're up to date on what's the way this car seat works. And they're all going to be a little bit different. So just because you know how this one car seat works, it may be different in your other car seat. Don't just assume that you know.
Yeah, and even between the same manufacturers, some of the different seats within like Graco or Safety First or some other ones, you may be like, I got one Graco, I've got them all figured out. Not necessarily.
Yeah,
So, like you said, it's always important to make sure you're checking those manuals and that the manuals match up to the seat that you're checking.
that's a
Because when
good
you
point.
get more than one seat, sometimes it's easy to get them confused.
Yeah,
So,
true.
we're going to wrap this up. Megan, what's your main take home message? What do you want people to know when it comes to spring and summer safety to keep those kiddos safe?
Okay. My main takeaway is just always be aware of your child's seating situation. Keep an eye as they're growing, that you're always adjusting the car seat properly for where they are now. Um, get your car seats checked if you're not sure. If you have questions, find a car seat technician, and you don't have to have a whole car seat inspection. You can just call somebody up and ask them some questions. That's fine too. Um, so if you're confused or unsure about anything, don't be afraid to ask. We all are learning things all the time. And it's not a problem to say, like, hey, I didn't know this thing, because now you're going to find out and now you will know, and you can help share that info with other people. So keep those kiddos safe. Make sure that you're always prioritizing their safety in the car, because you can never be sure what's going to happen outside your car. The only thing you control is what's happening inside your car, as far as how your child is buckled into their seat and how their seat is installed. Because if a crash happens, you want to know that you're ready to go. And a lot of crashes are happening close to home. So don't just assume, oh, we're just going around the corner to the neighborhood pool, so I don't need to prioritize car seat safety. You could have a very dangerous, life-threatening crash happen really close to home. In fact, I think most of them do happen within like a certain radius from people's homes. So don't take shortcuts on that. And yeah, I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah, no, that's great. Can you, right before we go, can you plug how people can get information on where a local car seat technician is, either in Texas or nationally or both?
Yeah, so if you are in Texas, there are a couple of websites you can go to. Uh, my, I'm with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, and we have a database of all of the Texas CPSTs that you can go to at buckleup, BUCKLEUP dot TAMU.edu. And you can search via name, city, county, zip code, things like that to find somebody that's near your area. You can also find one of the traffic safety specialists from TxDOT at savemewithaseat.org. And nationwide, there's also a database of car seat technicians. It's a little bit more work to get to, because you have to go to cert.safekids.org. And once you're there, you have to click on the button that says find a tech. And then that's going to bring you to a database where you can search with several different things, such as county, city, state, etc.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your knowledge today. Surely someone has learned at least one new piece of information from all your tips and tricks and keeping everybody safe.
All right. Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, Megan. Bye.
Bye.
This has been You Should Know. Don't forget to leave us a thumbs up and a comment about what you learned today. We're so glad you stopped by. And as always, if you'd like to reach out to us, email us at youshouldknowwithdanae@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.